What would you consider would be the moment that is actually the first moment of Erasure? Was it perhaps when you put an ad in, or when you thought of another kind of group?
I suppose when we started recording the first album. So we didn't have a name at first, and we just had a list of words that we thought might be quite good, and then we gave the list to the record company and they had to think about it, and then we came up with the word Erasure for no reason whatsoever.
Razor's Edge it was from.
Yeah. I knew that I wanted to do a group, for it to be a group, because up till then I'd been working with different singers and on one-off projects. I knew that I wanted someone more permanent, you know, someone to actually form a relationship with. We weren't really thinking about touring or anything like that. It was just I had the songs, or some songs written, and was looking for someone to sing them, but on a more permanent basis. Well, the best singers were always songwriters as well. That was the main problem, I think. And it's very difficult, I think, for someone who writes themselves to put across any sincerity or meaning, you know, in their singing when it's somebody else's words. I mean, that's why eventually, you know, that's why it's been easy for us now that, you know, as soon as Andy started writing with me together, and we write the songs together.
Vince was very generous because we when we started on Wonderland, a couple of the tracks he got stuck on the words and said, "Oh, can you let's sit down together and kind of like have a go at this song?" And I just came up with the words "Oh L'Amour," and he gave me 50% of the writing credit for coming up with "Oh L'Amour." So, well, I was kind of in a similar format really, with just working with another guy who was kind of like a leader, you know, because I'm not very organised, and he kind of like, we were doing building work and stuff and getting money to make demos and things like that, and we hooked up with a producer called Pete Gage that was in Vinegar Joe and did some stuff with him, and we were kind of together for about 2 years and just doing little gigs in parks and things like that. And I'd always been a huge Vince fan anyway with Yazoo, and followed Alison's career as well after they split, and I felt like it was kismet meeting him really, because I'd been for one audition which was like a spin-off from Bow Wow Wow group, and I wasn't very experienced, and I remember seeing Vince in the studio there after he'd split from Depeche Mode, and seeing him playing on the Space Invaders. And then he was just fixed in my mind from that day onwards, and I hadn't heard of him for a while when he was doing the Assembly project, and I just thought, well, maybe I should write him a letter and see if he needs a singer. And then at the same time the advert came out, which was didn't say it was him or anything, and so when I answered and found out it was him, I just thought, oh yes, this is how it's supposed to be. But at the same time I thought I'll go down and have a really good day for the audition, and if I don't get it, it would just be a pleasure to meet him and everything and see what it's like in the studio and all that kind of stuff.
Andy had 2 songs to sing, and you know, everybody had 5 or 10 minutes to learn the songs and then sing them, and, you know, and we were looking for the best interpretation of those songs, you know. I mean, that's like a lot of pressure for somebody. I remember there was one young chap that had quite a nice voice, but he sounded very much like someone from a choir actually. I don't think his voice was broken. I'm sure it was.
They when I phoned, all the auditions were full, so they said, oh, if we don't find anybody on the weekend, we'll ring you on Monday, and I didn't think I'd hear from them again. And then when they phoned, I just thought, oh yes, this is it.
I mean, at the time there was like a high energy music going on, and we thought, oh, that'd be quite a cool thing to get into, you know. And we liked the idea of making music that people could dance to. And then we had ideas about doing songs to work out to, you know, stuff like that. But in the back of our minds, I think, was always that we'd like to make dance music, or pop dance music.
From my experience of Vince, before I met him, he was pretty like off the wall and quite, you know, unique and individual and everything. And I think when I came along, I kind of like put a commercial spoiler on it, you know, and I don't know. I mean, it wasn't my intention to do that at all, but and I was kind of pushing the high energy thing, I suppose. I mean, where we were recording anywhere, at where was it? It was down in Soho, Trident. There was all these kind of like boy bands there anyway at the same time, and the engineer was a singer for one of the bands, and we kind of just got the vibe while we were there, and I thought, oh, this is quite good really, because I'd just kind of come out and was going to gay clubs and stuff in London, and I don't know, it just seemed to kind of fall into place. When I got the job as the singer, I was on a retainer for £150 a week, for about 6 months or something. And he had the Paul Quinn single out, and I was saying, oh, please be a flop. Even though I liked it, you know, I was thinking, oh, please be a flop, and then it was, and I thought, oh dear, it's not a very good start for us anyway, you know. But I think that kind of made us. I mean, you know, Vince could have just got rid of me after that first album if you wanted to, you know, and so I think it just made us pull together, and that's when we decided to do the university polytechnics tours.
It was great. The university circuit was great. You know, you got treated well, you got paid, you got fed, and they gave you drink. And at the end of the day, you know, a few people got to like us, so it worked really well for us. A lot of bands have it a lot harder than we do, you know, for sure. I mean, you know, we've been relatively, you know, we did quite well quite quickly, really. But,
I think that's only when you realise how many hits you've had is when you stop having them, kind of. And then, you know, from 95 I was just thinking like, shit, I'm knackered, you know, and we've been like all around the world 5 times and didn't even think about it, you know, and once you sit down and start thinking about it, and you think, God.
For our first single, we did a tour of discos doing PAs to Who Needs Love Like That, and we go to these discotheques and go to the DJ, say, look, will you play this record? This would be like on a Saturday night or Friday night in, I don't know, Aberdeen. And they'd say, well, oh, go on, please. So they'd stop the dance, the music, put our record on, the dance floor would clear. We'd do this
mime.
Yeah, we'd mime to this record.
And fall over and do a really bad dance.
Yeah. And then it would end, and then people would carry on dancing, you know, we'd say thank you very much.
Yeah. When we're writing lyrics sometimes as well, and we like talk about it, and I said to Vince, oh, don't you feel it? Because like, sometimes you just kind of like make it up off the top of your head, and it's nonsense, you know, and I said, well, don't you feel it? I said, well, you must have done. I said, you know, when I listened to Yazoo, to Upstairs at Eric's, I said, those songs are like so incredible. I said, you must have like been going through something where you really felt a connection with what you were writing. He says, no. So I think he kind of denies those, being in touch with his own feelings.
Robots don't sing emotionally, not yet anyway.
He does treat me like a bit of a robot sometimes, and it's always been my fantasy though to be the ballerina on the little music box. So I've got what I asked for anyway, you know. I think it's you know that from if you write an exhilarating tune, something that's uplifting. And that can be a ballad as well. Just that if it's, I don't know, if it gives you something in the first place, then it's going to do something for someone else. And it's like if you write something and it's not quite there and you're a bit disappointed about it, but still it goes out, you can't expect people to rush out and buy it. You know, it's kind of. But I think one thing as well with touring and meeting people one-on-one and getting letters from people and stuff is really affirming,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because it brings back all the memories that you had of that particular song at the time. Someone will say, well, such and such, you know, I was going through this hard time with my girlfriend or my boyfriend, and this made me feel really okay. And that brings it all back to you. How it meant something to you as well at the time when you wrote it, when it was released. Sometimes you can blame the music. It's like if we get bored, you know, with your careers or whatever, you can blame the music, you know, or you think, oh, it's all that, it's all shit, it's all crap, you know, and it's not true. you know, you make a record, you spend a lot of time doing it, and you put a lot of effort and passion into it, and then you shoot a video, and some young video director comes along, and I mean, it's not so bad now, but you know, it used to be the case that they would just be there to, you know, this is just a stepping stone for them to get into doing commercials and then to do hopefully feature films. And that was always in the back of my mind, you know, that I'm thinking, how much is this bacon butty costing us, you know?
I'd like to get a video directed by Chi LaRue, because Vince is kind of wanting to get into video direction. We've kind of, and he said that's the time when he can tell me what to do, and I'll do exactly what he wants me to do. And then other times I've been quite close with the video directors, and sometimes they'll just come up with the script and everything, and other times we'll sit down and just work out, go through all the ideas and stuff. That's stuff that we want to do. Probably about 5 videos out of the whole lot that we've done, I've been really involved with them, that's all.
You know, if you don't play keyboards, which I don't really, you know, I'm using computers, then it always seems a bit phony, and it does make you feel awkward.
Yeah.
The drag makes him confident.
Yeah.
Himself.
When you become someone else, you dress up, you know, obviously you can behave more outrageously, or a little bit outrageously. I remember the good one that we did was, I quite enjoyed, was A Little Respect, because that was just talking to the director about coming up with all the lines are represented by visual jokes, you know, and I like that kind of stuff, that kind of comedy. That was quite good.
I think really they just came out of a dressing up box. That's what it is, really.
We didn't plan anything. I mean, Andy would always come up with something to wear, and I would dress myself and the singers in something more sombre and sober.
I mean, I love doing it. It's what I like. It's what I like doing the most. And it's kind of like just my fuse is lit then, and that's it.
We didn't dress up, not in the beginning. I mean, you know, the first, not the first video, but sometimes video, you know, it was just jeans and t-shirt. And of course, when that kind of worked out, you know, the promotions people said you should just wear jeans and t-shirt, and we kept at that, you know. And there was a review once that said that we looked like we just signed on at the DHSS, you know. So we just stuck at that. It always, I mean, you know, the dressing up was for the live shows only.
Well, I think they kind of got a bit, what's the word, like, felt like they had their fingers burnt or something, because we did the drag on the first Who Leaves Love Like That video, and then saying that you're gay and everything. It was kind of like, it was all they felt like it was a bit too much for people, and then the jeans and the t-shirt thing is like a classic kind of like, you know, you can't go wrong look kind of thing, you know, like a James Dean thing. Which I really like as well. And I mean, the dressing up thing for me as well has always been from when I was really a kid, you know, in the back garden doing shows for the neighbours and things like that. So, and then you go to school, so you don't, you know, you have your uniform for school and stuff. So it wasn't, I don't know, I suppose it's like a Mormon or something, you know. But I mean, I would hate to be doing drag all the time anyway, because it's
too long.
Yeah, it's a drag. Drag is a drag. I really do feel like the music, the industry is still very homophobic, very, and maybe it will never change. So as long as it doesn't change, I'd like to be there smearing the lens for them.
With sauce.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, his costumes kind of got more and more crazy, and as we toured more and more, and I just think I got to realise that people love that, you know, people love that, and I think you know, if we're prepared to kind of make fools of ourselves on stage, then that really makes the audience warm to you, you know, you're on their level immediately, you know, and if we can make mistakes and stuff, then.
I think mime artist will be the new psychiatrist for reality TV contestants. I can't remember it, to be honest. Can you?
No, I can't. No.
Now it's kind of I either love it or loathe it. Top of the Pops, especially now, and I don't know, because you kind of realise, because you know the whole operation and what goes on behind it, and you know, you just think, not that you've been there and done that, but you just because it's a big scam, really. It's to fool the public, you know. You think that when you're naive, you think that you can live by talent alone and survive by talent alone, and that's not necessarily true, because it's so cutthroat now. Well, maybe I wasn't aware of it, but and also I have the utmost respect for prostitutes, but I won't be a whore for the TV.
If you're doing like some German family TV show, some some quiz show, you know, your views about that are, you know, are very sort of particular. And if you're doing or if you're doing an interview, I mean, that's the thing, you know, if you're doing an interview, and then you know that by the tone of the questioner, exactly what they're going to say, or that they've already formed their opinion anyway. You know, depending on how kind of clever or sarcastic they are, or how much they don't laugh at your sarcastic jokes. You know what it's going to turn out like, and that makes you cynical.
I think I honestly believe that you could change the world with your music, but you can't.
The thing I realise about music now is the fact that, you know, it's just because like the pop business is a certain way, a music fan is still a music fan, and that's the most truest thing there is, you know, the purest thing. If they don't like you, but they like someone else, you know, that's like obviously like new and upcoming bands, you know, then that kind of feeling of being a fan is really, you know, a great thing, I think, because I remember when I was like it.
I don't know. I mean, every single show, honestly, is I really try and just give whatever there is. I really do, you know, and which can like make you exhausted and everything. But I wouldn't. I'd feel bad otherwise. You know, feel like I've cheated people and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, there've always been good shows all around, all over the place. You know, Argentina and Czechoslovakia. But I'd have to go through all of them and find ourselves.
On this tour, I've come to realise the reason I don't really like touring is because all I do on stage is worry. You know, I just sit there. It's like an hour and 3/4 of just worrying that something's going to go wrong, that something's going to break down, that Andy's going to trip up, that someone's going to, you know, lurch on the stage and stab us or something. Or I'm going to play the wrong note, you know, on the keyboard or on the guitar, or forget to change the key on the keyboard. It's just worry from one song to the next. It's misery. I can't do that. Oh, it's a lot lighter. Well, sometimes I do, you know, I feel a little easier, I suppose, you know, and I love to see him, you know, making his jokes and the stuff that he just comes out with, you know, out of the blue. I think that's hilarious. I mean, sometimes on tours before, you know, you couldn't shut him up. So I'd start the song and he'd say, "Stop, you know, and finish what I've got to say." And then I'd have to restart the song. Sometimes he wouldn't say a word. On this tour, for the first time, he's introduced a couple of songs, which is really weird. So he's saying, "Oh, the next tune is..."
That's because I saw Alison doing the Age show in December, and that's what she did. So I thought, oh, I can do that.
It didn't occur to him before.
No.
I think we were always anti the kind of rock macho. You know, always.
I get kind of slightly nervous when we're touring of posturing as well on stage, doing rock posturing, you know. And I really feel like, you know, I want to carry the flame for Freddie Mercury, I really do. But at the same time, I can't do all the holding the mic, stand up, and doing all those Hail Caesar things, you know.
What's your equipment then? What's your cliche?
My cliche is pretending to be camp or putting on a bit of seaside sauce.
Is that the
It's
British,
more Mrs. Slocum than... I think it was because it was a great passion of I had for the group, for ABBA, and they were always the kind of group that everybody was so ashamed to say that they liked in school and everything, and it was part of my boyfriend in school. That was our thing, that we went out and bought the latest album and learnt all the words and everything, you know. And I felt a bit like that's how we were. That's kind of how we were. I regarded in the music industry a bit, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And I kind of felt like we sort of like helped to turn them into the Beatles.
I was pretty indifferent to them, you know, to be honest. Yeah, it was just an idea. I mean, it was done really quickly. Andy said, "Let's do it," so we did it, recorded it very quickly in Amsterdam, I think it was. It was mixed quickly. We didn't think anything of it, really, or I didn't think anything of it, you know. We shot 4 really quick, short video, cheapish videos.
I do get sick of the cult of ABBA, honestly, really.
I think it's died now, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's finished now.
it's kind of died out, yeah. I don't feel ashamed, not at all. I mean, I wouldn't do the same thing for Steps.
There was a couple of tracks that Andy suggested that I think we were going to do Money Money, and I did listen to that track like a lot, and I just thought, well, no, it's not a very good song actually. You know, maybe that's not such a good track to choose. I mean, the one song that I got to, what's the one that I really liked? That we tried to do.
Yeah. Winner Takes It All.
Winner Takes It All, I think it's a fantastic song. I mean, that's, again, it's something that I'd never heard before until we got into the ABBA thing.
It's the girls, definitely. And I mean, I got the whole box set and everything, you know, they sent us both one. And I kind of like made my alternative ABBA CD because I was sick of all the hits and everything. And what I really enjoy about it is listening to all their stuff that was demos before, and things like Take a Chance on Me, that made appearances in other songs before they were written completely. And I thought, like, oh, that's what we do, you know. And it was kind of just like a thing, like thinking, because when you're young, you don't think about those things at all. The song comes on the radio, and you just think like, oh, this is fantastic, you know. And don't think about the years, the history behind it, and also like they were like stars in their own right in the '60s. And you know, I got an Annie Frid album of her with a beehive with a huge dress on, doing Can't Take My Eyes Off of You in Swedish with an orchestra, which is fantastic, you know. I don't know, it's just the whole, to me they're kind of like pop royalty, and I'm not a patriot or anything, but I don't think there's not anybody else like them, I don't think, apart from Madonna, she's the queen.
This was kind of like it was a project. It was like Andy was going to do a solo. It was going to be a solo album, you know. I mean, I'm as surprised as anybody that we're touring this. You know, I didn't really think that we'd be touring. I mean, maybe I did think that one day we'd be touring again, but it would be with a new Erasure album. So this is like a project. I still think of it in that way, you know. I mean, it was great to do and everything, but you know, I'm sick of covers, and you know, I can't wait to start writing again.
It came out of more of a fascination really for crooning, yeah, and you know, one of the songs that I wanted to do was Love of My Life, which I'll save, by Queen. But it's just kind of like songs with like 40s and 50s and 30s I really like, and Threepenny Opera and those kind of things, a bit stagey, you know, and I mean really the ultimate fancy, I suppose, for me is just being on a stage with a spotlight and nothing else, and that's it.
We both did lists, and this is more the 50s and 60s songs, and I come up with, you know, the Peter Gabriel track and Video Killed the Radio Star. The 80s thing has been really happening for like 10 years, I think, you know, so, I mean, I've been going to I've been seeing listening to a bit of Electro Clash in New York, and there's something really, really charming about it. But I can't see it taking over the world, you know. But I don't think that's. I don't mind. We couldn't do that. I mean, we couldn't just go back and start making records with 8 spaces, and you know, you just can't go backwards like that. It's impossible. I mean, people are still basing records on Kraftwerk records, you know, because that's the purest of the pure. Yeah, in a way. I think we worry about for each other, you know, and if something goes wrong, or somebody's ill or something, you know, then you worry. Like a kind of mum and dad sort of love.
So if anybody hurt him, I would kill them.
You really need love.
I would, yeah. It's one thing that I like about him anyway, is that he's just so kind of like outside of the mainstream, never affected by all the trappings and everything, hates any kind of recognition, like as far as awards and all that kind of stuff goes, which I'll do willingly because I think it's part of my job. And he's really genuinely like that, you know, it's not like pretending. And I think that's a really kind of great trait of character to have.
And he's very down to earth, and he doesn't worry about anything, you know. And before it used to be really annoying, and now I realise it's a really good thing, you know. As good songwriters.
Better than Elvis Presley.